Hi students, in this lecture, we will talk about socialism, communism, and capitalism, and its differences. What is the definition of socialism? A political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. We discuss the introduction of socialism. Number 1. Socialism is a political and economic ideology that advocates for collective or government ownership and control of the means of production, distribution, and exchange of goods and services. The ultimate goal of socialism is to create a more equal and just society by eliminating or reducing economic inequality and exploitation. Number 2. In a socialist society, the government or the people collectively own and control the key industries and resources, such as factories, banks, natural resources, and healthcare. This is in contrast to a capitalist system where these resources are owned and controlled by private individuals or corporations. Number 3. Socialism can take many forms, ranging from democratic socialism, which seeks to achieve socialism through peaceful and democratic means, to revolutionary socialism, which advocates for the overthrow of the capitalist system through a revolution. And number 4. In summary, socialism is an ideology that seeks to create a more equal and just society by advocating for collective ownership and control of key industries and resources. Communism, a theory or system of social organization in which all property is owned by the community and each person contributes and receives according to their ability and needs. We discuss the introduction of communism. Number 1. Communism is a political and economic ideology that seeks to create a classless, stateless society in which resources and property are collectively owned and controlled by the community. Number 2. It was developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in the mid-19th century, and their ideas are outlined in the Communist Manifesto. Number 3. Communism advocates for the abolition of private property, and instead, all property and resources are owned and controlled collectively by the community. This includes the means of production, such as factories, land, and natural resources. Number 4. It also advocates for the elimination of social classes, where everyone is treated equally and receives according to their needs. This means that there is no private ownership of capital or land, and everyone is guaranteed basic necessities such as food, housing, and healthcare. Number 5. Communism requires a centralized government to manage and distribute resources and ensure that everyone's needs are met. This government is typically controlled by a communist party, which has the ultimate power to make decisions and enforce policies. Number 6. The Soviet Union, China, Cuba, and North Korea are some of the countries that have implemented communist systems. However, the implementation of communism has often led to authoritarian regimes, repression of individual freedom, and human rights abuses. Number 7. The idea of communism continues to be debated and has been adapted into various forms, including Marxist-Leninism, Maoism, and Trotskyism. And number 8. Critics of communism argue that it is incompatible with human nature, as it relies on people to act selflessly and for the common good. They also argue that communism leads to economic inefficiency, as the lack of private ownership and competition leads to a lack of innovation and incentive to work hard. Definition of capitalism: an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. Introduction of capitalism. Number 1. Capitalism is an economic system in which the means of production are privately owned and operated for profit. Number 2. It is based on the principle of individual rights, where people are free to pursue their own interests and engage in voluntary transactions with others. Number 3. In a capitalist system, prices are determined by supply and demand, and competition among producers and consumers drives innovation, efficiency, and economic growth. Number 4. Capitalism is often associated with free markets, where prices and wages are determined by supply and demand and not regulated by the government. Number 5. Capitalism has been implemented in various forms, including laissez-faire capitalism, where there is minimal government intervention in the economy, and welfare capitalism, where the government provides social safety nets to protect citizens from poverty. Number 6. Capitalism has been credited with promoting economic growth, technological advancement, and the creation of wealth. It has also been associated with political freedom and individual autonomy. And number 7. However, capitalism has also been criticized for promoting inequality, as those who own the means of production have greater economic power and can accumulate more wealth than others. What is the difference between capitalism, communism and socialism? Socialism, capitalism, and communism are three different economic and political systems with distinct differences. Here are some of the key differences. Number 1. Ownership of the means of production. In a capitalist system, the means of production are privately owned and operated for profit. In contrast, socialism advocates for collective or government ownership of key industries and resources, while communism calls for the abolition of private property and the establishment of collective ownership of all resources and property. Number 2. Role of the government. In capitalism, the government's role in the economy is minimal, and the market is left to regulate itself. In socialism, the government has a more active role in regulating the economy and providing social services, while in communism, the government controls all economic activity. Number 3. Distribution of wealth. In capitalism, wealth is distributed according to market forces and individual merit. In socialism, wealth is distributed more evenly, with the goal of reducing economic inequality. In communism, the goal is to eliminate economic inequality entirely. Number 4. Political freedom. Capitalism and socialism both allow for political freedom and democratic institutions, while communism has often been associated with authoritarian regimes that suppress political freedom. In summary, capitalism, socialism, and communism differ in their approaches to ownership of the means of production, the role of government in the economy, incentives, distribution of wealth, and political freedom.